G'day guys, how are you today? Today's video I'm going to talk about automatic water changes. I'm going to go full nerd spec. I'm going to explain everything about the system as thoroughly as I can. I have done a video on my water change system before. I'm going to try go into more detail here. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you're not interested in a video that's just me talking, then this video is not really for you, because that's all I'm going to be doing today, is explaining. Hopefully the tech nerds enjoy it. Here we go. Okay, step one, shopping list. So what we need a tap. You need 2 retic solenoids. Charcoal filters, your choice or not. I'm not going to talk about the plumbing pieces you need. You'll see them through the video. We won't put plumbing in the shopping list. Retic controller. High pressure pump. So this is a bore pump, a constant pressure. You can use on rainwater tank, etc. I've got the filter with it. That's all PVC, I'll explain that. I've already said solenoids. So I cheaped out with solenoids. This is round 2. Don't cheap out with solenoids. These are like $90 each. They're flow tested by the Retic store. They're pretty much the best I could find, and it's because it's a necessity. 1 or 2 IBCs, your choice. It doesn't have to be elevated. I just elevated it so I've got fully sick lawnmower storage. We've got a freezer, and I'm thinking about turning this into some sort of fish thing. I'm not sure. We've already got 2,000 kilos. I don't know if I should add more weight. It's kind of a cool little workbench. Like, this is like only head height, but I work in there quite comfortably, surprisingly. All right, back to the shopping list. Sidetracked. I've got a little 2 outlet air pump, heaps of these little 4mm barbs, lots of air line, retic fittings, lots of 40mm pipe. So I've used 40mm. So the bottom one's water. And then these are all 4mm barbs, 4mm lines. I've got no fittings on the end of them. I'll explain that in a bit too. So it's very basic. And you've got, every tank has a bulkhead. I guess we'll add that in as part of the shopping list. And then, as I said, PVC after PVC. There's PVC everywhere. And a couple of rolls of this 32mm flexible hose. But we'll leave the shopping list there. As a guesstimate, this shopping list will set you back about $1,000. That's just a guess. A very broad guess. This little pump here, I know it's a Zito, but it's like 2 years old now and it's still cranking, and I've got 2 of them. I will show you my wastewater system at the end of this video. Okay, so step 1. The water comes in via this solenoid. We've got it going through charcoal filters. So then the water comes in. That solenoid is turned on by the Retic controller. So station 1, I think it's set for 1 hour, and it fills this up. And so this timer doesn't have to be set exactly right, because there is a float switch in the IBC. So that float switch is wired, so the power goes from the Retic controller through the float switch and then down into the solenoid. I did have a relay set up and it wasn't working right. The relay's still there. And then I thought I would just wire it straight in. I didn't know whether the switch would be able to handle the load, but I was like, a Retic solenoid shouldn't be much load. So it does work. That, I can't even remember what that's rated for. It's literally just like a $3 cheapie off eBay, and it works mint. I bought 5 of them because I didn't know how well they were going to work, and that's still the first one in there. And I bought 2 different types. I've got a different type in my toolbox, but yeah, that thing's works. Oh no, I tell a lie, I did break the first one. I melted one. I don't remember how, but that one works. And then after water comes in, next is this pipe. These pipes here, they are nothing but air lifts. So the water comes, once it's in the drums, that's plumbed in. That's a loop there. I'm sorry, there's a surfboard in the way. That loop then comes down to this pipe, and they're air lifts, which have got a little air pump on them, nothing huge. So that is a constant circle, backwards and forwards, across, all the way into that one, up and around. That's just to keep the water moving. So then this fills up at 6 p.m. That sits turning over until 12 p.m. the next day, lunchtime. So this actually drains at lunchtime, and I'll explain that quickly too. I do it at lunchtime because there's a bit of a temperature drop. So this water's colder than that water. So the temperature drop is in the middle of the day. So that means when the air conditioner is working its hardest, the solar out that way is producing the most amount of power. So then the reason that doesn't turn on at at lunchtime is because I want to be able to see how much water's gone. So I've got that on 6 p.m. because that's just after I get home from work. So when I get home from work, I come in and feed the fish. Quick sight of the IBCs as I walk past. I know that I've changed about 1,000 litres today. I think it's a little bit less. It's like 900 or something. I've actually been turning it down a bit because my nitrates are that low. My nitrates are below 10 ppm, which is excessive. So I've dropped the water consumption a little bit. So where it is now, from there to that switch is how much we're changing. Obviously there's 2 IBCs, so I'd say it's 800 litres. As you can see, I've got shit attached to the IBCs. They make a great storage rack. I've got really nice Gemini grill here. This is in mint condition. You really want to keep that in a safe place. I found a safe place, my IBCs. Surfboard, this is my stepdad's surfboard. He lives in Dunsborough. He wanted me to hold on to it in Perth for him until he can get up here to pick it up. That's his thing, collecting surfboards. I got my fish, surfboards aren't my thing, but I reckon it actually looks pretty cool hanging off that IBC. I might get some more cool stuff to hang off it. That's an old guard. I don't even need that, that's rubbish actually. It's got a few dents in it, but I don't know why I put it up there, but we'll leave it there. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Alright, so now our retic controller switches back on, and it comes through here. This pump has got a pressure switch in it. So as soon as that IBC opens, this pump knows to turn on. And then you'll see the T coming off the right hand side here. That's purely a pressure tank. So you can buy a pressure tank for like $100 or something, but me being me, I've looked at the cheapest way possible, and this was all just pretty much parts I had laying around. When I built the system, I got a heap of 40 and 50mm PVC given to me, so that was just left over, and it was just cheaper than buying a proper tank. So up on the retic controller, we hit manual. We go all one. There we go. 1 minute. Turn it on. So sprinklers are on. Pumps on. So it is quite noisy because I've got the restrictor turned down on the solenoid. So then we just hit off. And it turns off. So I put that back to auto. Obviously, let's see. So yeah, so We're on at 12 o'clock for 45 minutes, and that drops that much. So that's the only one you really have to set up with time. The next one, oh no, hang on, work with me here. Bloody retic controllers, never remember them. And then station 2 is 100 minutes. It is quite slow because I do have those filters on there, so I think it takes about 80 minutes, but it's got 20 minutes spare there. Yeah, I know what you guys are going to say. It's a little bit risky putting that much faith in that little switch, but this thing has never failed. And on that subject, some people might say, oh yeah, but why do this, or why not use this pump? This system has been almost completely flawless. The only thing that has gone wrong with this system in, I think 18 months is both solenoids broke. So I can actually show you the broken ones. These, I'm not going to name the brand, I'm sure like 90% of you will be able to pick it. It's from the Big Green Shed. I learned pretty fast, never ever buy anything retic related from the Big Green Shed. So I built this system just off the top of my head. I expected huge problems. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own trumpet, but I cannot believe how smooth this system has run. I'm happy to give anyone any advice they want. Like, I will walk them through step by step on how to build this system, i.e. kind of like what I'm doing now. I'm happy to troubleshoot and all that. Some people seem to think that I've got a big head when as soon as I mention automatic water changes, people get their knickers in a knot. I will help anybody build this system. I don't mean to gloat about it. When I tell people about it, it's because I'm proud. That it's just, yeah, sorry guys, I've had somebody in the last few days abuse the hell out of me because apparently I was being a smart ass when I was just trying to explain to him how good the water change system actually is. Like seriously, it's better than sliced bread. It's my favorite thing in this whole room. So that's why I'm going into so much detail today about it. So let's get back into it. Very important, isolations, taps. So I can isolate it here. Obviously I can turn it off with the normal tap. The two IBCs have taps on them, but it wasn't enough. It's a drama because all these pipes hold way more water than I ever expected. So this tap was actually an afterthought, but if I did it again, that's an absolute must. So yeah, I'll say it's flawless. There is a couple of things like taps. I can't remember what they're called. I've got uni joint in my head, but I don't think it's that. These couplers, the ones that you can unplug, are absolute must near pumps and your solenoids. This doesn't need to be up high, but I wanted the storage area underneath. We've got, people say it's not strong enough. So that's 90 by 90, that's 90 by 50 Jarrah. There's 90 by 50 there. That's 120 by 35, that's 70 by 35. 90 by 35 at the back there. 90 by 50 Jarrah there. There's coach bolts the whole way along. Every 600, every 600 the rack is bolted to the wall, and it's 90 by 45 rails in the wall. Rails is the wrong word, what are they called? Yeah, rails will do for now. 90 by 45, 90 by 50 behind there, and 90 by 50 there. I'm like 100% confident with this. The only things that I would maybe add one is these back corners, but it's not going to be an issue. I copped a lot of hate for this rack, but it's held so far. And like, oh, this is awesome. This is another awesome thing. I got an old ladder. I cut the ladder to the size, and that's actually bolted up there. So there's 100 mil holes in both IBCs. So if I want to add aquarium buffer like lake salts and that, I can climb this ladder with one hand, not have to worry about holding a ladder, and put it in. And it does stick out a bit, but it's not annoying. It's really handy. But yeah, that's not really anything to do with the water change system. Alright, so next. So then we have our 40 mil pipe, which is a complete loop around the room. And so the top one's air, the bottom one's water. And then, I can't show you there. I've just used these 4 mil tees, the same as the air, with water. I had problems with them dripping, so I put glue on them, I put Sikaflex around them, and then I found out an easy way to solve that problem, to stop them dripping. This little flow controller on the solenoid, I wind that down so it's not, this pipe isn't as pressurized, and it stops them dripping. So now I'm stuck with a big mess and I didn't actually need it. Alright, so next. So the last step of water coming in. How much water do I bring into each tank? So, this tank down here is my smallest tank at 200 litres. So this tank has got one line in. I haven't finished these off. Most of them have actually silicon to the side. So that's got one line in because that's 200 litres. The one above it is 400 litres. So that's got 2 lines in. So that tank gets double the water change of that tank. And then it carries on like that. So this tank here is I think 450. So that's got 2 lines in. And then this one is a bit bigger. I'm not sure. It's 7 by 2 by 18. So that one's got 3 lines in. This tank here is 1,000 litres. So that one's got 4 lines in. And I think that's the biggest one out of all of them. It's got 4 lines in. Oh, and then, yeah, that's the, so then the pond has all the fry tanks. The fry tanks run off into the pond. I'm not too worried about disease or anything because they're all my own fry. The only exception to the 4 mil lines is the pond does have one 6 mil line. So key to this system is don't get complacent with checking nitrates. So this pond was actually getting high nitrates. They were sitting around 80 ppm. I know that's not really high for stingrays, but it was higher than I liked. So to bring the nitrates down, instead of adding more lines to the pond, I doubled the water changes on the fry tanks. Now, I say fry tanks and there's a flower horn there, but ignore that. They're fry tanks. That guy is in the wrong tank. Let's talk on this one. Alright, so we've doubled water changes on fry tanks. Yeah, that's more correct. So now the water's in, you say, how do we get the old water out? So every tank has a 25 mil lift pipe, which is drilled and comes out the bottom. The 25 mil goes to a flexible hose. You never ever go straight to a hard pipe, because if you've got 5 tanks linked with a hard pipe and you bump the pipe, you could crack the tank. It's not really an issue because my tank supply here, but other tanks it is. And this hose here is cheap as chips from the big green shed. So then I have 70 mil pipes running out the wall. So they're all over the place. There's a gutter. This one goes all the way through. So I used 75 mil PVC stormwater pipe. So much regret. I should have used 90, simply because all the fittings are so much easier to get. I'll never ever ever use 75 again. It was a pain in the ass. So now we're behind the scenes. So that pipe comes out of the side of the shed and it's buried and keeps going. Don't judge the back of my shed, I bought it second hand, only the front side has fresh sheets on it. So that pipe was actually put in before I built this limestone wall. So that pipe runs down from behind the shed. See, look at this side, nice pretty shed. Yeah, you could be fooled, this shed only cost me $1,000, but well, that's a story for another time. Nearly everything in my house is secondhand and fixed up because it's cheaper. So the pipe goes under there. You can just see it here where my dog's decided he wants to dig a hole. And then this turns into a bit of a junkyard down the side, sorry guys. So that's the pipe there. So these IBCs are half buried. That was a mission. I could only just squeeze the dingo down the side of here, and my sewerage, my power, and my water all runs here. So I had like 100 mil between the water lines and the fence with the bucket. It was a nightmare, but it was a good decision because I don't know if you can really tell in the video, my shed is higher than the top of this. So that pipe is lower than the water level of the lowest tank in the fish room. So I don't have to pump any water out. That's gravity fed all water out. As you can see, it's full. They actually stay pretty full. This one's full of shit. I really got to clean it out. I want to clean it out and seal it off a bit more. I used to put like, I had koi in here, and yeah, it was a bad idea. I really just want this to be a closed system. And then these are actually going to be aquaponics connected to my koi pond, but this is how much rain we've had. They're actually like half full just from rain. I'm actually a little bit worried about that. I was meant to reinforce the IBCs before I put any water in these. Oh, and also, these aren't meant to be full of water. They're meant to be full of clay beads, which I was hoping would be lighter than water. Anyway, that's not the point. Let's go around to the front. So guys, last but not least, where does the water go once it hits the IBCs? So one thing I didn't mention how many there is. There's 4 IBCs. So that's 4,000 litres of water storage. I could get away with less than that. They don't completely drain. It's just safer that way. That way this pump doesn't get sucked dry. So we've got our retic controller. I definitely recommend the Rainbird in the shed over this Holman, but that's a bit of a grudge that I've got with them. I've got a filter on there. It's purely to pull out debris because I've got the MP rotator sprinklers and I was having problems with debris. And underneath there is the little filter, the same one that's in the shed. And it's just, it didn't cut it for this because MP rotators are so fine. And then you can see there, the same pump. This one's even older than the one in the fish room and it still works fine. I've run it dry a few times, emergency shut off. I've got a tap here where I can connect a hose. I really need to do that in the fish room because if I want to water change one tank, I can tap off it. I don't know why I didn't put it in at the start and now it's one of those things that's a pain in the ass and I've been putting it off, but I feel like it's a necessity. I'm not going to go into detail on my retic system. It's just a standard retic system like any other house. The only difference is it's plumbed into that pipe there. It doesn't run off mains water. I'm going to wrap today's video up there, guys. If you like what you saw, hit like and hit subscribe. If you want to learn more through my ways and my mistakes, hit subscribe on the channel. My channel isn't just about showing you the good times. When I make mistakes and things go wrong, I do show it on my channel, and I think that's part of me vlogging, is I don't want it to be a lie. I want it to be who I am. I don't want to sugarcoat it and make people think that fish room is the best thing in the world. It does have its low points, but I'm really happy with how my room's running. So I feel like I've got a lot that I could teach people in the hardware aspect. I know there's 100 ways to skin a cat, but this is just my outlook on the way I've done things. My channel isn't just about fish as well. I'm trying to make it a vlog about me. So yeah, hit subscribe if you're interested. I'm really happy with the way the channel's going. And yeah, thanks to all the OG members. And hopefully when I'm sharing this video in the future, it's got plenty of views. This is a video that I'm going to share for months to come. So cheers guys, I'll see you next time.